I'd like to invite and welcome Denise Dumouchel. I hope I've said your name correctly, who is the director of the barn and has been there just for 2 years, but previously worked at Islandwood, where she was for 18 years. So I'm sure you must know a lot of the islanders now. And your talk today is on how creativity enhances community service. So I'm very thrilled to welcome you. I was one of the original mask makers for the barn, and this is my contribution out of an old washcloth. I made a mask from one of the original masks, but I really enjoy coming to the barn, so thank you for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm very happy to be here. I wasn't sure exactly what it would look like, how many people to expect, but hello everybody in your various places of safety, hopefully. I'm here at Barn, actually, in the office. We've been very quiet because we've been closed, except that we have...
I'm sorry, it looks as though somebody is trying to phone in. Please continue, Denise.
Sure. Barn has been closed since mid-March, as have many organizations. And we have, however, been very active in new and creative ways. One of them is we have made nearly 3,000 face masks for the Emergency Operations Center for the City of Bainbridge Island, and Bainbridge Prepares. And some of those have gone to clinics, and more are headed in those kinds of directions. These face masks, I'll go into that later. We also, for these so our fiber studio has been very active in coordinating that and creating kits for people to pick up here, curbside, take home, make masks, bring them back, and then we wash them and sent them on their way. Oh, someone's trying to get in the door. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
Yes, this is one of the very first masks that were made, and it's made of heavy toweling, and it's done so for the patient as opposed for the caregiver, so that the patient doesn't send any germs to the caregiver.
Mm-hmm. Good.
This is what happens when the director's the only person in the building. So we've been making masks, and that's involved a lot of people who have been part of our fiber studio before, and many new people getting involved. And also the little metal bands that go across the top of the nose to help the mask to fit to your face effectively are being made by Linda Solberg in our sheet metal studio. So we've been making masks. Our electronic and technical arts team has been coordinating efforts, making a different kind of face protection, the transparent face shields, 3D printed, and also the bands that people who are in healthcare have been asking for that allow them to lift the elastic or the tie off of their ears, and a connector part that's part of the full body PPE with respirator. So they're busy. And our wood shop has created some containers requested by Helpline House that can be kept outside and are critter proof, so that food can be left there and people can pick it up on their own without interacting with other people or getting too close to other people. So it's been, Barn's mission is really about building community through collaborative creativity, through teaching and learning. I'm paraphrasing rather than reciting it for you. But in this time, at first, we thought, well, we're just going to be shutting down. And then we started realizing that there were going to be needs that, because of the creativity of the people in this building, we could help. And since I've gotten here, every time I talk about the volunteerism in this building, I get a little choked up. And we had amazing docents and volunteers at Islandwood as well, but Barn is run by volunteers. Every studio lead and the treasurer and the secretary and the person planning the programming and classes are volunteers. And now it's not just our barn volunteers, it's people from the senior center, it's people from Island Volunteer Caregivers, participating in distributing food, coming in as volunteers to help prepare the food with minimal numbers and maximum possible, at least 6 foot separation. And what's become really clear to me is that community service is mentioned in our mission, but it's 95% of what we're doing right now. And what has become an aspect of what we do has become the thing that is drawing new people into Barn. But also my daughters, who are 17 and 19 years old, have come in to help take the washed masks and tidy them up and put them into Ziploc bags. And I brought Ziploc bags home that we put the labels on. And being able to give something, to contribute something right now makes a huge difference in our mental well health, our emotional well-being, our sense of having a purpose and contributing something. And maybe that's just making a meal for someone in your home, or trying a new recipe because clearly they're tired of whatever it is you usually make. In our house, it's nachos or spaghetti. It's being creative, and then having that creative thing not just be, I made something and I feel really good about it. It doesn't look like what I expected, but I really love it. Now it's, I've made something and it might save someone's life. It might enable someone to eat a healthy meal for the first time this week. It might enable a healthcare worker to care for numerous people who are ill without endangering himself or herself or their loved ones at home. And it's turning my brain toward other ideas of how do we sustain this in the long run as an organization? How do we continue to make the creative aspect of community service more upfront in the organization? And when we get to questions and answers, which won't take 20 minutes for me, but one of the things I'd love to hear is if you have ideas. So one of our studio volunteers saw an image of some creations in Czechoslovakia they're calling mask trees. And they're putting out these creative structures and hanging masks on them. And we thought, well, maybe we should do that. And now we're starting to think we're going to create our metal fabrication team is upstairs at Barn and our wood shop is downstairs. And they're each going to make a, sorry, that's allergies, nothing else. They're each going to make a tree on which we can hang masks that have been made by volunteers connected to Barn, so that when people return to Barn, if they don't have a mask, they can take it and use it while they're in the building. And then they can either take it home or they can drop it in the hopefully creatively woven basket of some sort. And when we have several there, we'll wash them and put them back up on the tree with some caveat, acknowledging that the face mask isn't everything that we need to do to protect ourselves. But and then we started thinking, well, what other organizations might need to be offering something like this as well? And I was on a phone call with several people, a Zoom meeting the other day, and I mentioned this idea of the mask trees, and Maria from Helpline House immediately said, we would love to have one of those trees, and can you also provide us with 20 masks that we can sample through? And we said absolutely. So we were thinking maybe the senior center would like to have something like that. So if you forgot your mask, or your mask got wet in the rain, or for any other reason you wanted to come into the building, when it's time to do that again, there would be some there that you could use. Or if you're volunteering somewhere, you would have access. So the kinds of places we're thinking about aren't so much Town and Country or Safeway or places that have huge flows of people coming and going. But those places that are going to be reopening and having volunteers in there or people coming through, like the senior center. So that's one of our ideas so far. Anyway, it's we have a demographic at Barn that looks a lot like the senior center, but we also have a growing demographic of younger people, from teenagers to folks who are helping us think through, well, how can we make Barn more accessible and more appealing to the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings? And I have an idea that this kind of opportunity might be part of that, because the need for stepping up to support people who are struck in some way, financially, physically, emotionally, by this virus it's going to last for at least another year, and possibly 2 of those. And maybe going forward, there's always, not always, but frequently in waves, needs like this. And they're not always going to be a virus. But anyway, it's something that we're thinking a lot about here at Barn, how to, without losing just the importance of creating beautiful things, whether they're practical or just lovely on the wall, blending up with the value of creating something that could help someone else in some aspect of their life. We thought about offering a class, an online class, in how to make a face mask, for example, or some of the other kinds of things that will be needed, classes in making useful things to other people. We have a series coming up that's about preparing foods that help to boost one's immune system as well. So that was, I mean, I didn't have any other major aspects of what I had to say today to share. I'm more of an interactive kind of a person, so I would love to hear other people's ideas or interests you have.
It's interesting. I was listening to Governor Cuomo of New York's talk yesterday, and he said this is the era of mask art. And I thought that was interesting. We could have some kind of a contest and a mask art.
Mask art, yeah. I've seen some good ones online, you know, the ones with the dog's face, and then you put it on and it unfolds. You see the whole snout, and yeah. One of my favorites are the ones where they've created a clear piece that goes over the lips, so you can see the person smile. I've been trying to smile more with my eyes too, but
yeah, it's really almost impossible, isn't it? Very, 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 very difficult to interact well with people when you have a mask on.
Yeah, yeah. And I come here recently, and somebody saw me the other day and said, "I didn't know who you were until you spoke." I was like, "Oh."
Governor Cuomo took, a lot of people have been sending New York masks. He took a series of masks and did a collage, which actually was wonderful. So that was maybe another idea that you could do, is a kind of collage, a large collage of people's different masks.
Yeah.
And then I have one request from Katie Curtis saying, "Mask trees, yay." Maybe we could add the Historical Museum to the list of organizations on Bainbridge that would like to say, "Please may I have a mask tree?"
Yes. Brianna has already brought that up with me, so yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Denise, can I ask a question? Do you still doing the food the meal deliveries once a week?
Yes, we have this. I think the senior center, but also Island Volunteer Givers, picking some up and delivering them. We're not delivering, but we're providing them, you know, curbside, masked, gloved people, bringing them out and handing to people who have ordered them in advance. So we need to know how many we're making before we do it. But so yes, this afternoon, I think it's from 4 to 5 or somewhere around there. There will be, we've already delivered to Helpline House for this week. There'll be people coming by and picking up food that they can take home. And we're going to do that at least through May, and probably as well through June. I just picked up the mail before this, and received the Barn Bites program, and so I believe we have the funds to get us through at least mid-June, providing these meals, unless the numbers of requests grow a lot bigger. But it's, I mean, the volunteerism and the donations have just really been inspiring.
So is there somewhere on your website where people can donate to that?
Actually, if you open our website, right up in the upper right-hand corner, upper right-hand for you, I guess, is a button that says donate. And you can just click on that and fill it out, and then specify in the comments, I'd like this to be for masks, or I'd like this to be for whatever you want it to be for, that kind of thing. We also take checks. You can find our mailing address if that's easier. But we've been really blessed by a lot of people stepping up and wanting to support this effort.
Denise, I just wanted you to know about hello.
I'm sorry, that Sheila's obviously having trouble with her sound.
I think I'm having a problem with my sound. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Sheila, do you want to write your question on a piece of paper and put it up to your camera?
She can also write in the text box.
Yes, you could, on the chat box, which is at the top right-hand side of your screen.
Yep, it looks like
You're
they're
able
already.
in the chat box to add something.
Yep, Katie has already sent one there.
Yeah. Technology is challenging.
Yeah.
Denise, when do you think the barn will reopen? Do you know which phase of the governor's opening series that you are under? Are you a phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 group?
We're a phase 3 group, and we have a team of people now working together to establish some really clear safety protocols for barn-wide, and then the individual studios will each develop some protocols. So we hope to open as soon as June 22nd. We don't plan to have any, and that would be mostly just for open studio use for members. And then beginning on July 6th, we might start to have classes. We'll just have to see how, you know, the 3 minimum for each phase is going to keep us.
Yeah.
And we're trying to grow so talk about being creative. We're trying to grow our classes that are online, but also when we reopen, one of our ideas, we have a proposal into Bainbridge Community Foundation right now for this, is to develop what we call hybrid classes, where we'll have a small number of people who come to the building, but there will be many, many people who won't feel comfortable in a public space like that for a long time. So we're going to set it up so that a class is taught here with a group of people, and also being simulcast online. So someone could sign up for the class and take it from the comfort of their home. And our Fiber Studio has the idea of creating some kits so that they can be dropped off or picked up, and someone can just swing by and get a kit and then participate from home. And if people want to join in these classes from further afield, because you could be in Oklahoma and decide to take a class if it's online, right? Or England, then we'll provide a list in advance of the materials someone would need to participate.
That's a good idea.
But anyway, we're excited about this hybrid idea. My daughter is in Running Start, so she has some hybrid classes, but what they mean by that is sometimes it's online, and until now, sometimes it was in person, but what we're talking about is that it's happening all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a new, we'll see how it works.
Good. That sounds like a good suggestion, because then people can participate, because it may be a while before some people feel comfortable being out in the community again.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Does anyone else have another question? Is the barn able to self-sustain with the memberships and the classes?
So we have a budget that involves about 30% class revenue and about 35% memberships. And then the remainder of it is fundraised, is through fundraising grants and donations and that kind of thing. So we're hoping over the, I mean, we haven't been in this building yet for 3 years. So we're still young. And in some ways that's great because right now it makes us nimble and we can say, well, let's do this for a while. Let's try this. Maybe this will work better. And we also were very well funded when we were built. So we don't have an existing debt to keep paying, to pay off. And we have some reserve funds to help us through this phase. But generally it's about a third each, membership, classes, and development. And I'd like to get that down to about 20% fundraising.